I'm Laura Ledford. I'm the Interpretive Ranger at Andrew Jackson State Park, the boyhood home of our 7th president, Andrew Jackson. I'd like to show you a little bit more about what I do as an Interpretive Ranger here on a daily basis at the park. Come on with me and let's find out more. Well, this is how opening the museum starts. We make sure the doors are unlocked. Then we come inside. Make sure that the area to our storage and offices upstairs is closed off so we don't confuse visitors. I make sure the lights are on. Unfortunately, right now, due to COVID, a lot of stuff's been taken up. So normally we would have hats here covering my light switches. Then I move over into our Great Wagon Road exhibit and our loom area. Then I make sure that the lights are on in the room with our Revolutionary War replica uniforms. And I come over and I turn on our park videos. We've got 4 videos, one about Andrew Jackson State Park, one about the birthplace controversy of Andrew Jackson, and 2 others about the Revolutionary War. Then I move over again, and I turn on the lights to our most important artifact here at the park, and that is our lock of hair from Andrew Jackson himself. So you've seen me open up the museum. That's one of the first things I do every day here at the park. The museum is a great place to interact with visitors. We have lots of exhibits. We have some hands-on things for them to do. We can do demonstrations here. This is also a place where we discover Carolina programs. We make our first contacts with visitors normally either here or in the campground. This is where our gift shop is located and our museum office. One of my favorite things to do in this room is to show kids things that are different about life in the 21st century and life in the 18th century. We talk about how they survived then, where they got goods from, and where they got their food from, things like that. It really amazes a lot of the kids, especially those from Charlotte, that you couldn't just go to the grocery store every day. You couldn't just get your food from the microwave, that you had to cook everything over a fire, that you didn't have a refrigerator, so you had to preserve your food by drying it or salting it or storing it away in an underground cellar. So it's really neat to see the light bulbs come on. It's also neat to hear the grandparents make connections to some of the objects they see and how they used to use them. Even though they were in the 20th century, they may have used them in their life, especially some of our foreign guests. We have a lot of grandmothers from Latin America that really love our loom, and they explain how they used to have looms in their homes to their grandkids. So that's one of the really rewarding things to see when people make emotional connections to our cultural resources. Okay, this is our loom that was donated by the Stevens family. It is documented in wills back to the late 1800s, but we believe is as old as Andrew Jackson would be, over 250 years old. And where do you get your clothes today? Where do we get our clothes at? The store? Yeah, usually the store. Well, back then, the closest store was 50 miles away. So you would have to make your own cloth, you have to make your own thread, you have to make your own clothes. And here at this farm, they grew flax, which is the plant that makes linen, and they raised sheep to get wool. And what they would do is they would use the spinning wheel to make thread, and then you would take the thread and you would put it on the loom. And this loom has many parts, but it's real basic in what it does. When you're weaving something, what you're doing, you love to have something pops off and you don't mean for it to, is that you're making the threads stay together. And the way you do that is you have one set of threads that's stationary, that doesn't move, and that's called the warp. And this one's got about 20 warp strings. And this is called a shuttle, and it holds the part that goes in and out horizontally, and that's called the weft. So what you do is you just go under and over, very carefully, under and over, under and over, under and over. Takes a while. Under and over, under and over, and under and over, and then you pull it through, and it makes a line of cloth. And then you take that and you beat it down, and eventually you've done that to enough lines that you get a piece of cloth. This is a piece of cloth that we made here on our loom. Now, you know how I said that you had the warp that are the stationary threads? That was the blue threads on here. Had about 20 of them. Can y'all guess how many might be?
How many do you think's on there?
100?
200. More than 200?
300.
Wow. 400?
500, 600.
600.
Wow.
So, are y'all ready for me to sit here and go through 600 threads under and over? We've got all day, right? Well, this is, like I said, that's the simple, very simple kind of loom. But this was an advancement that came about during the Middle Ages, and this was used until we started having mechanical textile mills in the 1800s. So, what you would do is, this is called a two-harness treadle loom. So these are my two harnesses, and each one holds 300 threads. And the treadle is a pedal that's down here on my foot. So I'm going to mash down the treadle, and that creates this opening between the two sets of strings. And that's called the shed. And I take the shuttle, and I throw it through, and I pull it, and then I beat it back. And that's a lot quicker, isn't it? And the average trained weaver could get about 6 to 8 yards a day, and that's about one outfit. And that's not even counting the time to farm and process it into string and warp the loom. So you treated your clothes very well, and if you had fancy clothes, you would even, your grandparents might leave like their best Sunday dress or their best suit of clothes to you in their will.
Wow.
Any questions?
You guys have any questions about it?
We're heading down to the one-room schoolhouse right now. It's a bicentennial project of the retired educators of Lancaster County. So it's been here on the park almost 45 years. That's one thing about being a park ranger. You have lots of keys. Lots and lots of keys. Alright, if y'all want to come on in, it will be chilly in here. I'll warn you. Just had some visitors leave, so I'm going to lock back up and head over to one of the gardens that we have here on the park and talk a little bit about the different volunteers and groups that help us accomplish our mission here. This is our herb garden here at the park, or our kitchen garden. It's right behind the museum. It's fall, so it's time to do a little deadheading and some other maintenance. And we have several different gardens here on the park. We have a historical orchard that's maintained by the master gardeners in the area. We have this garden that was started by the Lancaster Garden Club. We have a fence, Carolina fence garden with symbols of South Carolina. That was done by Leaf and Petal Garden Club. We have a pollinator garden that several different groups worked on. The Friends of Andrew Jackson State Park, the Girl Scouts, the Cub Scouts, and the Master Beekeepers. But we do spend a lot of time patrolling the park just so that we know what's going on. We're aware of situations and we're able to help visitors when they need it. I'm just going to pull into one of these campsites and see if we can't make sure we've got everybody checked in for the day. It's early yet, so I'm really actually looking more at checkouts than check-ins. We got a call from a camper that just checked in that's got some questions about how the water works, and I'm going to go over and check her in and see if she has any other questions. Hello. How are you, Miss Thomas?
Good, how are you?
I just wanted to get you checked in. I heard you were having some trouble with the water. Okay, it's a little different from a lot of campgrounds. We have antifreeze devices on ours. So you're going to pull this handle up. Might want to step back a little bit. Don't want to get your boots wet. And the water is going to come out of this brass coupling here. But you want it to come out where your hose attaches. So you're just going to pull down on that brass coupling, and now the water goes through your hose. All right? And let me give you a couple of other things. This is your car pass. Our gate closes at 6 this time of year. If you have any questions, just give us a call at the office or stop one of the rangers coming around. Our after hours number is posted on the board. Have any other questions?
Where are the trails?
Okay, well, we've got one trail that goes around the lake. You can actually pick it up from the campground, or you can start the trailhead up by the lake. But it's about a mile, and it just goes all the way around the lake. And there's some places to sit if you'd like to sit as you're walking around. The other one is off of our main parking lot behind our park meeting house. It crosses over this paved road, but as long as you go to the right, you'll see all the signs. And that takes you out to the undeveloped part of our park.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. If you need anything else, just let us know.
Okay.
All right, so now we're going to head over to the lake kiosk and do a little bit of checking on the signs and make sure all of our informational signage just looks good and is understandable. One of my favorite things to work on as an interpreter, and it uses my education as a historian, is writing interpretive text. This one has a little bit of history and a little bit of nature. It talks about what the forest would have looked like here when Andrew Jackson was a little boy. And when you make a wayside exhibit, which is an outdoor exhibit like this, you have to gather images, copyrights, text, and make it all work together in 100 words or less. It's a fun process to condense a book's worth of knowledge into just a few words. Okay, one of the other things that most interpreters take care of at their sites are our orientation kiosk. Every park you go to has a standardized kiosk with information. This started as a team project among our interpreters back before I started, but it's something we continue today. And each one will have a map, some pictures of different locations at the park, and some information you need while you're here. This is actually a trailhead kiosk for our Garden of the Waxhaws Trail that goes around our lake. But these aren't spick and span all the time. So this one has definitely become a mess. As you see that some of the ones in the bottom have been broken off, and we have some old signage that needs to be replaced. So this is something we do on a normal basis. We go around to our kiosk and our bulletin boards and make sure that they are fresh and ready when our visitors need to access them for information. This is the entrance to our amphitheater. But you can tell it's fall here at Andrew Jackson State Park, which I think is the prettiest time of the year because that's the time of the year that I actually started working here. But we're going to have to blow the leaves off before the next group of visitors arrive to use the amphitheater for a wedding or a concert or a family gathering. We also have church services here. But I'm glad that you were able to spend a day with me seeing what I do here at Andrew Jackson State Park, and I hope that you can come out and visit the park soon, especially the museum and our Huntington statue.